The first time I saw Owen, I knew he would be a problem. Not just because of his charming looks and his half-smile, but because he was married to my sister, Amelia. I, Felicia, had arrived at their house in a small coastal town to help with the wedding preparations. Even though I lived in the city, I felt I had to be there to support Amelia on her big day. Owen opened the door with a warm smile, and something in his gaze unsettled me. It was as if he could see through me, read my thoughts, and discover secrets I didn't even know I had. I tried to ignore that feeling, reminding myself that I was there for Amelia, but as time passed, it became harder. "Felicia, welcome. Amelia has told me a lot about you," he said, extending his hand to help me with my luggage. "Thanks, Owen. I hope I'm not a bother," I replied, feeling a slight warmth in my cheeks. The days passed quickly with the wedding preparations. Owen and Amelia seemed like the perfect couple. They complemented each other in every way and their love was evident. However, I couldn't help but feel an increasingly strong attraction to Owen. I tried to focus on the tasks, on the wedding details, but every time our paths crossed, the world seemed to stop. One night, after a long day of work, we found ourselves alone in the kitchen. Amelia had gone to the city to buy some last-minute items. We were preparing dinner when I noticed that Owen was watching me with an intensity that made me shiver. "Is everything okay, Owen?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Yes, I was just thinking about how much you look like Amelia, but also how different you are," he said, moving a little closer. I felt my heart beat faster. I knew I should step away, but my feet seemed anchored to the ground. Owen's proximity was overwhelming. "We're sisters, after all," I responded, trying to smile. He smiled too, but his gaze didn't leave mine. I could see a conflict in his eyes, something that mirrored my own feelings. Suddenly, he took my hand and led me to the garden, where the night breeze enveloped us with its coolness. "Felicia, I don't want this to sound wrong, but there's something about you that I can't ignore," he said, and I noticed his voice trembling slightly. "Owen, we shouldn't be having this conversation. Amelia is my sister," I protested, though my heart said otherwise and I felt excited by everything that was happening. "I know and I hate myself for feeling this, but I can't pretend I don't feel anything for you. Since you arrived, things have changed for me. I've rethought my feelings for your sister and the truth is I can't just ignore that I also feel something for you," he responded, moving even closer. My mind was in chaos. I couldn't betray my sister, but my feelings for Owen were real and deep. Before I could say anything else, his lips met mine. It was a kiss full of passion and desperation, as if we both knew it was madness but couldn't avoid it. To be completely honest with you, it was the best kiss of my life. We suddenly pulled apart, both of us panting. We knew we had crossed a dangerous line and for a moment neither of us knew what to say. We just stood there looking into each other's eyes. "Felicia, this can't go on," Owen said, stepping back a bit. "We have to stay away from each other, for Amelia's sake." I nodded, feeling tears in my eyes. I knew he was right, but the pain of staying away from him was almost unbearable. It was even worse after having kissed. It felt like buying your favorite ice cream and having the strawberry scoop fall to the ground with the first lick. An absolute disappointment, a void, and at the same time, the sweet taste reminding you of how good it could have been. The wedding went off without a hitch, and no one suspected anything. I forced myself to smile and enjoy the day for Amelia, but every time I saw Owen, I felt like a part of me was breaking a little more. Months passed and I returned to the city, trying to move on with my life. But Owen never left my thoughts. One night, I received an unexpected call. It was Amelia, and I noticed her voice was broken with tears. "Felicia, I need you to come." "Owen has had an accident," she said, sobbing. My heart stopped. Without thinking twice, I took the first train back to the town. When I arrived at the hospital, I found Amelia in the waiting room, her face pale and her eyes swollen from crying. It broke my heart to see her like that, but I felt the same way. "What happened?" I asked, hugging her. "A car accident. The doctors say he's in critical condition," she replied, clinging to me. We sat in silence, just the two sisters waiting for news. If there was something that characterized us, it was that when either of us needed it, the other was always there. no matter the circumstances. Finally, a doctor came out and informed us that Owen was stable but in a coma. They didn't know if he would recover. We hugged and cried, she more profusely than I, as I tried to be her support. However, the following days were torture. I took turns with Amelia to stay by Owen's side, hoping for some sign of improvement. One night, while I was alone with him, I took his hand and whispered, "Owen, please, come back. I need you." I felt a slight pressure on my hand and my heart raced. That was when I realized I had to fight for him, for us. Although our relationship had started in the worst way, our feelings were real, and that slight gesture of his hand made me know that he still wanted me. A few days later, while Amelia was at home resting, I found myself with Owen in the hospital room. Suddenly, his eyes opened slowly and he looked at me. It was as if the whole world disappeared and only we existed. "Felicia," he whispered, his voice very weak. "I'm here, Owen. Everything is going to be okay," I said with tears in my eyes, completely moved by the miracle I was witnessing and the joy of having him back. "You have no idea the fear you feel when you think you might lose a loved one, or at least I hope you don't, because it's a terrible, desolate feeling." With time, Owen slowly recovered. Amelia was happy to have him back, but I knew our lives would never be the same. Finally, Owen and I had a conversation that changed everything. "Felicia, I can't keep living a lie. I love Amelia, but my feelings for you are just as strong," he said, looking into my eyes. "I don't know what to do, Owen. I don't want to hurt Amelia, but I can't ignore what I feel for you either. And every time I see you two together, I feel a weight in my stomach. I feel like the worst sister in the world," I replied, feeling a lump in my throat. "We have to be honest with her. It won't be easy, but it's the right thing to do," he said, taking my hand. We decided to talk to Amelia, confessing everything. It was the hardest conversation of our lives, but we knew it was necessary. Amelia was devastated, but surprisingly, she understood our feelings. "I always knew there was something special between you two. Although it hurts, I prefer the truth to living a lie," she said, with tears in her eyes, and I was really surprised by the maturity with which she was taking it all. My sister was always the most spoiled of the two of us, used to getting what she wanted, and usually I was the one who had to settle for what was left after she made her choice. However, this time life was allowing me to get what I wanted, and she, surprisingly, took it much better than I would have imagined. I felt relieved and thanked her for her understanding. Over time, Amelia recovered and found her own happiness. Owen and I moved to the city, starting a new life together. Although our love had been born in difficult circumstances, we knew it was real and worth fighting for. As Owen and I built our life together, the challenges didn't stop coming. There were moments when I felt guilty for what had happened, for the pain we had caused Amelia. But every time I saw Owen, every time he took my hand and told me he loved me, I knew we had made the right decision. It wasn't easy with the family either. My parents were angry with me, blaming me for damaging Amelia's relationship, and stopped talking to me for quite some time. We also had to deal with the whole matter of Owen and Amelia's divorce, so he and I had to keep our distance to try to be happy despite everything. One day, as we walked through the park, Owen suddenly stopped and looked at me with an intensity that made me tremble. "Felicia, there's something I want to say to you. I've been thinking about it for a long time, and I think it's time," he said, and I could sense that his voice was full of emotion. "What is it, Owen?" I asked, feeling a knot in my stomach. After everything we had been through, what could be worse? "I know things between us haven't been conventional, and it hasn't been easy either, but I want you to know that I don't regret anything. I love you, Felicia, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you," he said, pulling a small box out of his pocket. My heart stopped for a moment when he opened the box and I saw the ring. Then I felt tears fill my eyes as Owen knelt in front of me. "Felicia, will you marry me?" he asked, his voice sounding a bit nervous. I couldn't speak. I just nodded my head as the tears streamed down my cheeks. Owen smiled and slipped the ring onto my finger. We hugged, feeling that despite everything, we had found our happiness. The news of our engagement spread quickly. Amelia was one of the first to find out. Although it was difficult, she gave us her blessing and wished us the best. I wasn't sure if my parents would be there that day, but I agreed with Owen to have an intimate ceremony. After all, it was a celebration of our love. and we didn't need anyone else but us. I just want you to be happy. That's the most important thing to me, Amelia said, hugging us both. The day of our wedding was a whirlwind of emotions. Unlike the first wedding I had helped plan, this one was for me. Contrary to what I had imagined, my parents attended, as did the close friends and family we had invited. I felt overwhelmed by the love and support of our friends and family. When I saw Owen waiting for me at the end of the aisle, I knew everything had been worth it. As we exchanged our vows, I couldn't help but remember everything we had been through, the doubts, the difficulties, the pain. But I also remembered the moments of love and happiness, and I knew we had overcome it all together. I promise to love and support you at all times, no matter the circumstances, I said, looking into his eyes. And I promise the same, Felicia. I will always be by your side, no matter what, he replied, with a smile, that smile I had fallen in love with from the first moment. Life after our wedding was a mix of ups and downs, like any marriage, but every challenge we faced made us stronger. We supported each other at all times, knowing we had found something special. A few years later, we received a surprise that changed our lives forever. I was pregnant. The news filled us with joy and excitement. Owen was ecstatic and couldn't wait to be a father. The pregnancy wasn't easy, but Owen was by my side every step of the way. When our daughter was finally born, we felt our lives were complete. She's perfect, Owen said, holding our little one in his arms. Yes, she is, I replied, with tears in my eyes. We named our daughter Amelia, in honor of my sister. We knew it had been a difficult journey, but in the end, we have found our happiness. Over time, my relationship with my sister strengthened. Amelia found her own path and built a happy life. She often visited us and we spent time together, reminiscing about the past but looking toward the future. She and our little Amelia seemed like soulmates. They connected perfectly, were accomplices, and loved being together. I, of course, couldn't have been happier about it. I felt that life was telling me through that situation that I had done things right, and only God knows how much I needed the affirmation to move forward with all the decisions I had made along the way. One afternoon, while we were all gathered in the garden, Amelia approached me and took my hand. Felicia, I want you to know that I'm happy for you. What happened was difficult, but I see how happy you and Owen are, and I'm grateful for that. Little Amelia couldn't have better parents than you. And obviously, in no other life could she have a better aunt than me, she said with a smile. Thank you, Amelia. It means a lot to me, I replied, laughing and hugging her. Humility had never been her strong suit, but that was part of her charm, and we loved her for it. Our life continued with its ups and downs, but we always faced everything together. Owen and I built a strong and loving family. Our daughter grew up surrounded by love and support, and every day reminded me of how lucky I was. Sometime later, as she grew, I began to dream of the idea of giving her a sister so they could grow up together as Amelia and I had. I proposed the idea to Owen, and of course, he was delighted. From that moment, we focused on bringing another baby into the world, and our family was truly happy. Over the years, I learned that true love doesn't always follow a straight path. Sometimes, it arises in the most unexpected moments and challenges us in ways we never imagined. But I also learned that when we find the right person, it's worth fighting for that love, no matter the difficulties. Despite everything, I found my happiness with Owen. Our love was proof that sometimes the unexpected twists of life can lead us to the most beautiful places. Today, I share this story with you to inspire you to keep moving forward, because I know that sometimes we lack courage, but may we never lack determination to fight for what we want. Thank you very much for wanting to listen to me. It is really something I appreciate. I wish you a day full of love and happiness.